So we have Darren Aronofsky doing his best Guy Ritchie impression. That's actually a pretty lazy way of describing this movie. While I admit I did think it was a lot like Snatch or Lock Stock when I saw the trailers, after watching the film, I can honestly say Darren Aronofsky adds a lot of his own style, you know, with heartbreak and sadness and all that stuff. Let's get into this. Okay, so Caught Stealing, directed by the aforementioned Darren Aronofsky. This was not a long movie. I'm going to try to not make this a super long review. So, when his punk rock neighbor asks him to take care of his cat for a few days, New York City bartender Hank Thompson suddenly finds himself caught in the middle of a motley crew of threatening gangsters who all want a piece of him. That is the IMDb pitch, and for the most part, it's true. But, this movie does take a couple of turns, but we'll get there in a second. So, off jump, I can tell you this is an hour and a half movie. Perfect timing. I really, really liked it. I really think you will like it. But let's talk about what I don't like first, Start with the sours, then we're going to end with the sweets. So yeah, I mentioned Aronofsky adds his little flavor to the Guy Ritchie formula, and that includes, the shock and heartbreak that you see like in Requiem for a Dream, right? So yeah, there's some death here, some sad ones, bro. But that's not what's bad. What really gets me is the timing of these deaths. Like they come very suddenly. And again, it's not necessarily that it's sudden, it's just that these characters felt like they were gearing up to contribute more to the story. Um, in particular, like the first two that I don't know if they're the first two. Let me not say that. There's a lot of death in this movie, but two major characters that are coming to mind. It's like, man, it felt like they were putting puzzle pieces together to kind of, help Hank out of the situation. And Hank is played by Austin Butler, if I didn't mention that. But yeah, it seems like they're gearing up to help him and, putting these puzzle pieces together. And then suddenly they're just gone. And one of them was even, I believe it was done off screen. It was done off screen. So it was a little, I guess, disappointing is the word I'm looking for, because it felt like these characters just had more to offer, and then they didn't. The movie was also a little predictable. I mean, it's a fun ride and it has twists and turns, but a lot of the twists you can kind of see coming. Like there's one I guarantee you're gonna be like, oh, well, come on, Hank, you shouldn't be in this situation. Should know exactly what's about to happen here. So it was a little bit predictable, and that's just something to know. And then the final thing I'll talk about is the ending. The ending, it was a little too tidy for me. Again, there's a lot of death in here. I'm not exaggerating. Like a lot of people die in this movie, and the way everything kind of just wraps up, it's just a little too unbelievable for me. So there was that as well. All right, so what I liked entirely, the characters. Hank, played by Austin Butler, he carries this movie. Austin Butler is phenomenal. Who'd have thought the guy from Zoe 101 would have just banger after banger? I mean, Dune, Elvis, and now this, just three movies he can hang his hat on, man. He was excellent in this. He is in every scene. He's the character that, we meet all our other eccentric characters through. So he's like our vehicle through that as he is going on this, I guess, let's call it a journey, when he discovers he has this package that is linked to all these different dangerous people, right? So we learned that he had a promising career as a baseball prospect, a top baseball prospect, but then he got into a car accident that kind of derailed all that. And now he lives as a bartender in a very loving relationship with his girlfriend Yvonne, played by Zoe Kravitz. And from the opening tap, when you see him in the bar and how he interacts with some rowdy customers versus his regulars and stuff, you see he's just a very likable dude, and it makes it very easy to root for him in this movie. Similarly, with his relationships with Yvonne and his neighbor, played by Matt Smith, the best doctor, we see that he's a good friend too, right? Like he doesn't really want to, or he always just wants to help out in the best way he can, right? But the thing is, even though he has like this, like I guess, hero archetype that we see on display sometimes, he's complex, because the movie does another good thing in showing us he's dealing with something. One of the ways they show us is very obvious, because he just wakes up all of a sudden, screaming in his sleep, and you're like, okay, well, something's wrong with you. Well, he's not really screaming, but he wakes up suddenly. And you're like, all right, well, people don't wake up like that. Like, clearly you're having bad dreams about something. But the other thing that's really subtle is the amount of alcohol this man drinks, yo. Like his freezer, his refrigerator, the post above his bed, his closet. There's just alcohol everywhere, and he's constantly drinking it. But he's a functioning alcoholic. So it'd be easy to, kind of miss this if you don't know him. And I like that the movie shows us, okay, normal people don't drink this much. He's dealing with something. And then we do see what he's ultimately dealing with, and it is pretty bad. And you're like, okay, I get it. So he has all his baggage and stuff, and all this trouble with his past that he's clearly carrying, and he's not getting over, and probably in an unhealthy way dealing with it. But he wakes up every day and he's trying to do the best he can with the people around him. So I actually really, really like this character of Hank. Now, all those eccentric people I mentioned, they're also great. We kind of meet them as the days go on, and he's, going on this journey after he discovers that, this cat has this package. And it's actually not the cat, it's the litter box. Let me say that because that might be confusing. But anyway, he's meeting all these people along the way. Like Matt Smith, comes back into the picture, and he is where we get a lot, almost all of the comedy, honestly. Like I belly laughed when he was in the movie. Matt Smith, phenomenal actor. That probably goes without saying. I just love these projects he takes on the show that he can't be typecast. And in this movie, he is a drug dealer, but again, also he has some deeper levels to him because he's not just a scumbag or just a doofus or anything like that. Like he has a very loving relationship with his father, which kind of led to the whole issue that happened in this movie. And I like that. Again, this movie just feels very real. And that's something that Aronofsky did very well, very well. These people feel like actual people who could exist. And it's almost like, like this is a story you could have read in a newspaper or a news article or something like that, rather than something was made up for the big screen. So yeah, Matt Smith, hilarious. Regina King, Miss Regina King. Oh my gosh, this might be one of her best acting performances. I really didn't like her. Like I didn't like her character. Like I had actual hatred for a fictional character. She plays the cop who's investigating this string of occurrences that Hank found himself in. And yeah, man, she does a really good job at being like a jerk. Like I actually had my arms crossed during the movie thinking like, yo, who does this woman think she is, man? So she was great in it. In the third act is when we meet, he may have seen in the trailers, the Orthodox Jewish gangsters played by Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio. And yeah, again, they're also pretty funny, but mainly just because their complete lack of care for life. Like these people, a lot of the death that happens in this movie comes at their hands. They don't care, man. And the way they're just so casual about it is pretty hilarious. And they play off each other very well. Good job all around, man. The characters make this movie even more than the plot. Notice I didn't even really mention the plot involving this package that was in the cat's litter box or whatever. It's really not important. It's more of a MacGuffin so you can meet all these characters, and I liked it. And then I also like the way it was shot. It was shot very well. We got our wide angle so we can see action when it's happening. All the different chase scenes, they were really fast paced and well shot and well moved, and there wasn't any kind of shaky cam with those. When there was fighting, like it felt like actual fighting. Like there was one time my whole crowd, we were like, "Whoa!" when there was a fist fight that was happening. So I like the way it was shot. I like the way it sounded. It was all pretty good. I could do with a little bit more background music. I think that especially during the chase scenes, it's a little too quiet. That's something that maybe Aronofsky could have borrowed more from Guy Ritchie because he is actually really good at that. But very minor thing. Yeah, man. This movie gives you what you expect to see in the trailer. It is definitely a lot. Again, it's a lot sadder than I thought it was going to be, just due to the amount of death that I was not expecting to happen in this movie. But when it needs to be fun, it's fun. When it needs to be funny, it's funny, and it's really a great great thriller film. Or is it a thriller? It's classified as a crime slash comedy. So yeah, I guess it is a crime film and it is funny. So yeah. Anyway, but it's a great film. This is one I actually would recommend people see in theaters. I'm gonna give this one a 4.25 out of 5. Thank you so much for listening to me rant. I appreciate you guys, and until next time, I'm out. Oh wait, and please subscribe and like the video. I always forget to say that. If you're still here, please click those buttons. Thank you guys.